actually did think, wow, you know, you've seen something that Dior's doing and it's obviously working well for them, and you thought, shameless, shameless, I'm just gonna go and copy it. Hey everyone, welcome to another video. If you are new, welcome, and if you're one of my regulars, welcome back. My name is Sophie, for anyone who's new, and what we're going to be talking about are brands that are, I don't know whether you would say they're inspired by other brands or whether they copy other brands. You know, very often when we think about imitation bags or inspired bags, you would think of the high street, and the high street is one such place where, you know, I talk about Urban Revivo a lot. Urban Revivo do fantastic bags that are very Chanel inspired, but you wouldn't necessarily assume that someone like Prada would copy Gucci or Cartier would copy Hermes. You wouldn't imagine that it would happen, but it's happening. And so I'm going to share with you some of my top bags which I think look like what they're trying to look like. The first is a bag which is a particular favourite of mine at the moment. It is from Cartier, and it is this. And I actually saw this a couple of weeks ago when I was in Harrods, and it caught my eye, and it's beautiful, and I saw it and it was in the Cartier red. It's just a stunning bag, but wow, what does it remind you of? To me, it reminds me of two bags. It reminds me of the Celine Triomphe bag, but it also reminds me a little bit of the Hermes Constance. And as soon as I saw this bag from Cartier, I actually said to my husband David, I was like, there's this bag and it's called the Constance. He now knows what I'm talking about because I keep talking about it. But I was like, there's this bag called the Constance, and that looks like it's trying to be that bag. Now, actually, this Cartier bag is very well priced. It's under £3,000, and I think for what you get for your money, it's actually really good, and it's one worth considering. And I have reviewed Cartier leather goods before, and the leather is, as you would expect, it's really, really good quality. But also, I think when it comes to their bags, they're quite underrated, they're quite under the radar. So if you are into designer bags and you don't want the usual Dior or Chanel or Fendi, consider Cartier, because I can't speak for their resale. When I look at their resale on Vestiaire Collective, etc., they don't go for very much. But again, is that because people don't naturally think Cartier handbag? They think about Cartier jewellery. So, but have a think about them, because their stuff is actually really nice. It just happens to look like a couple of other brands. Now, Dior, back in 2018, came out with the book tote. And that bag went down a storm. Even if you don't like the bag, I'm sure you have probably seen one out in the wilderness on the streets. I'm sure that you've probably over, you know, in all those years, you've maybe seen someone who's been carrying one. And they're a really iconic bag. I feel that that is a bag that has become iconic. It's been around for a long time now. It's still very popular. It really smashed it in popularity when it first came out, but I'm still seeing the popularity now. And I think one thing that's really helped that bag from Dior is that they do it in the oblique, but they also do it in seasonal colours and different styles. So they're constantly evolving it, constantly changing it up, which means that even if you already own one of the book totes, if you're somebody who's a book tote fan, chances are you had your eye caught by other ones in different colours. But there are other brands I have noticed who have also come out with their own versions of the book tote. And some of them did it really quite quickly. Like, for example, Louis Vuitton. I was surprised when I saw this, because it's kind of like when you're a kid and you do something really cool and your little sister notices and decides to copy, doesn't even decide to put her own spin on it, just outright copies you. That's kind of how it felt. And when I saw the bag that they came out with that was their own version of the book tote, I actually did think, wow, you know, you've seen something that Dior's doing and it's obviously working well for them, and you thought, shameless, shameless, I'm just going to go and copy it. But is it a bad thing? I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. My personal views on this are that when brands do it, I feel it's lazy designing, and I feel as though we could end up in a point where all of the brands, no one's got anything that's really unique, that feels very revolutionary. Everything's more evolutionary, where it's kind of like they've looked at something someone else is doing and they've put a little bit of their own spin on it. and repackage it, and it starts to feel quite boring. Now Prada, I was on the Prada website because I was looking at their clothing and their bags, and I noticed that quite a few of their bags are very inspired by other brands. The first one is this, and this really reminds me of a bag from Gucci, and I can't think of the name of it, but it's like a crescent moon, a half moon shape. And when I saw the Prada version, I thought that to me reminds me, it's almost like they've taken Gucci's version, they've put their own logo on it, and they've repackaged it, which again, it's fine, but it does feel very samey. The other bag that I noticed that really reminded me of another bag from Gucci, and it's by Prada again, and it's this. And this to me, I don't know whether you'd agree, but it reminds me of, is it called the Jackie bag? I think it is. It really reminds me of that iconic Gucci shape. I really like all of these brands actually, but one thing I've noticed with Prada is that they come out with lots of designs that are discontinued quite quickly. They do have their iconic icons that stick around. Like for example, at the moment they've got, you know, the re-edition, which has been with us now for several years. But they do come out with lots of new shapes that don't hang about. And it depends on you as a person. Some people will really like that because it gives you constant, ever-changing choice. For me, I prefer it when I buy a bag that I know the brand's always going to make. That's just my personal taste, but not everyone is the same. But I think by replicating what other brands are doing and then discontinuing it and then moving on to the next one, I feel like it's a little bit lazy designing, when I'd rather see something that is fresh, that is new, that is unashamedly Prada, that you look at it and you think that's a Prada bag. Like they've done it with the crystal bags. It's Prada. Everyone knows it's Prada. Now moving on to Valentino, and I spoke about this particular bag around about 3 years ago now, and I didn't expect it to still be here, although I can kind of see why it is. And it's I think it's called the V sling bag, and I like it. I do like it. I have it in the miniest size you can get, and which holds a pair of AirPods, and that's it. But it's fine, I love it, it's really cute. This bag, when it came out, I saw it, and the first thing I thought is, wow, this looks just like the Hermes Kelly. It looks like Valentino's version of the Hermes Kelly. It's not exactly, like there is another bag which looks like the Hermes Kelly, and it's this, which is the Lorna Traviata bag. Even the way the flap goes like that is kind of very similar to the Hermes Kelly. And when you look at this, it basically is the Hermes Kelly. But then, can Hermes really put their stamp on this shape of bag? Because this trapeze shape of bag is very 1950s, 1940s. It's not something that I feel any one brand can own, because it's quite an iconic shape that was fashionable back then with a lot of brands. So can any one person truly take this shape and own it? I'm not sure they can actually. But yes, for sure, for me, this one reminds me of the Hermes Kelly, but so too does that version by Valentino. Coach. I have had, now Coach is, I feel, reasonably well known for coming out with dupes. Or not dupes, that's the wrong word. Coach is known for coming out with bags that are inspired by bags by bigger brands. Not always. This is what I like about Coach, is their quality. What you get for your money, you get a lot of bag for your money. But the other thing I really like about them is, although they are inspired by other brands when it comes to some of their bags, actually a lot of their bags are also very them. It's not like their whole lineup is inspired by others. They have got pieces that are very Coach, and it's their unique original design. But the Bandit bag is one that I've had lots of you talking to me about recently. And when I looked at it, because some of you have been saying it's kind of like the Chanel Wok, and when I looked at it, you are not wrong. It looks like, look at this. It is basically a wallet on a chain. It's exactly how it looks. But it's a fraction of the price, and it does exactly the same job that the wallet on a chain does. It just happens to have a different logo on the front. What do you think of that? Do you think that that is inspired? Do you think Coach looked at the wallet on a chain and thought, yeah, that's a good idea? There are people that are going to want to use a bag that size. Let's make our own. Or do you think it's a unique, original idea? I don't actually know for how long that bag's been around. Some of you might tell me that that shape's been around from Coach for like 25 years, I'm not sure. But I do believe it's fairly new. I don't think it's that old. If you're like watching this right now and you're screaming at the screen going, oh, you've forgotten there's this brand and it looks exactly like this brand, please can you leave it in the comments below, because if you like this video, I might well do a follow-up to it. So please leave below any other brands you can think of, like big brands you can think of that are copying other big brands. I would love to know. Thank you all so much for watching. Please come and join me in another video. I'm going to put a couple up here that you can choose from. One of them is quite recent. Another one will be something that is suitable for you that you might particularly want to watch. Thank you all again for watching, and I will see you in the next video.